Hello, everyone. I'm the managing editor for Shadowproof. My name is Kevin Gostola, and I'm joined by Rania Khalek, who is at the Democratic National Convention reporting for us. Hello, Rania.
Hey, Kevin.
And so it's been an incredibly hectic day, but you've been hanging in there, and you just saw Bernie Sanders give the speech to wrap up the first day of the convention. So tell us, this was the first opportunity that you've had to get to the floor of the convention, and tell us about what you saw.
Well, what I saw was what seemed to be a very fractured uh, movement, I guess, if you want to call it. Even among the Bernie Sanders delegates, I was speaking to a lot of Bernie Sanders delegates, and throughout the speeches, they were chanting. There were certain groups of them that were chanting against any talk about Hillary Clinton that was positive. They're very vehemently anti-Hillary Clinton, particularly from states like California and Washington that have really strong pro-Bernie contingents, especially Washington. And they say they're not going to vote for her. Some of them say they might, but she really has to earn their vote, and she hasn't. And they chanted, during Bernie's speech especially, there was you would see Clinton supporters who were holding "I'm with her" signs whenever Sanders would say nice things about her. They were the ones cheering, and I'm sure some Sanders supporters were in there too. But then, Sanders supporters, when he would talk about her, would start chanting things about her. So there's a lot of hostility, there's a lot of anger, and there's a lot of disappointment. And it's not directed at Bernie Sanders. No one's mad at Bernie Sanders. They actually are very understanding. That's everyone I spoke to understands why he's saying and doing what he's doing, but they're really angry at the Democratic Party. They're disgusted with Hillary Clinton. They're even angry at a lot of them are even angry at Elizabeth Warren, who they feel like betrayed them or betrayed her progressive values, is what one person said, because she endorsed Hillary Clinton opportunistically, waiting until after it was already clear who was going to win, instead of actually putting her weight behind someone beforehand and risking maybe losing. So yeah, there's a lot of anger at a lot of establishment people during Cory Booker's speech. Cory Booker, as a senator who is a very strong Hillary supporter, has also received more money from Wall Street than any other senator in the Senate. And when he was speaking, when he mentioned Hillary Clinton, people started chanting "War Hawk, War Hawk." So there's a lot of issues that bother people about her. TPP was another big thing when that came up. People would chant about against the TPP. So there's people planning a walkout. That was another thing. That there's some people who are planning to walk out when she speaks. Perhaps, possibly when she speaks, possibly when she's nominated. I mean, they're still not sure, actually. I don't know. I'm still waiting on confirmation of that. We might not know until it happens. But they want to hold some kind of protest, and they don't agree with Sanders' take about not protesting or just kind of sucking it up. They understand and they respect him, but they just don't agree with him, and they want to show their discontent. And another thing that's taking place that a lot of Sanders delegates have told me is that they feel like they're being policed. They feel like they're being intimidated by the Clinton people, especially during the speeches. They say that whenever the speeches take place and they chant against Hillary Clinton or for Bernie during a pro-Hillary speech, Hillary Clinton people from their states, the state parties, will come and shut it down. And they're also starting to experience that kind of suppression from people in the Sanders campaign, from Sanders delegates. And as one person put it to me, it's as though they are coming and telling them, or spanking them for misbehaving. And they've had also people, the state parties and Clinton people, reportedly, is what I've been told by more than one person, threatening to pull their credentials if they don't get in line. I don't know if you got that.
Well, and so throughout this, what we're seeing right now is many people are getting angry at the Sanders supporters for expressing their anger. It seems like there are journalists who are articulating their disgust with what they're seeing. We also are hearing from politicians that are tremendously frustrated. But your reaction to the fact that this is really the first, time that they're having an opportunity to use a space as an outlet for the fact that they finally have confirmation that the DNC was trying to conspire against the Bernie Sanders campaign.
Well, the comments I've often heard most often is that, like, yeah, it's like they already knew because they've been experiencing it themselves. They've experienced that sort of behavior from the DNC throughout the primary, but now they just have confirmation so that people can stop calling them conspiracy theorists, is what one person said. And and so that, but most people weren't surprised. It just sort of added to like a yeah, of course, which is another reason to be pissed off. But yeah, they're really angry and they don't feel like the Clinton campaign really understands like how they don't feel like the Clinton campaign is even trying. They feel like the Clinton campaign is like shoving their thumbs in their eyes and flicking and like basically giving them the finger by appointing people like Tim Kaine to vice president, by appointing Debbie Wasserman Schultz to honorary chair of her campaign after the DNC leaks came out. I mean, they feel like that was specifically meant to just like tell them that you don't matter.
And then let's just give people an idea of what it's like to be there reporting on the DNC. I understand that it was very difficult to get to the place where you could actually enter the arena. So what is it like navigating the security zone?
Well, there's a couple things. I'm glad you asked this. With the security zone, it's just long. It's like it feels like you have to walk a mile to even get in the arena. You have to go through at least 2 checkpoints, one of which is actually staffed, I believe, by TSA people who actually check your bags and like it goes through a scanner. But they're not mean. They're pretty nice. I mean, it's just like it's very the security theater there. Just like it's so normalized, like people are okay with it, I guess. There's also a couple like police stops in residential neighborhoods on the way to the DNC. Which is kind of bizarre. And then again, like you have to walk this maze that's, now I kind of get it because I've been in and out a couple times, but you have to walk this maze that's like a mile long to get here, and it's like 105 degrees outside. So it's a pain in the ass to leave. It's like hard once you get inside. It's like not an easy place to leave and come back to. It's like you need like a good 20 minutes perhaps, like if you walk really fast to get in, and that's even, before you come in with your Uber. That's another thing. It looks as though I guess maybe the DNC made a deal with Uber. It's almost the only way to get in. You can take a taxi, but Uber has special access to actually go in deeper, to get you in deeper. And they actually have a special tent that's air conditioned. They're giving out free water. And so Uber's like the life of the party here. Cause like, and even it's like it's just the most convenient way to get here. Like it's actually very, very difficult otherwise. And I was even told that, because a lot of Uber people who drive are also like Lyft people. They do both, and that they only got directions from Uber on how to get into the DNC, but not the Lyft. So it seems like there's some sort of deal with the DNC that like maybe Uber. I don't know if Uber's a sponsor, but that was just interesting to me that they would at least partner up in a way with a company that we all know is destroying the cab industry and also is like a model of a really terrible business model for workers.
And this is also sponsored by Comcast, but I know that earlier you were struggling very much with getting access to the internet, that you were saying it's just not working for some of the press that were there trying to do coverage.
Yeah, so that was actually really funny in a way, but also annoying. Because I'm here right now. I'm in like the Real News booth area. This is the Real News Network is here, and they were putting together they were getting their their equipment going and their Wi-Fi going. A lot of people were having trouble with the Wi-Fi. So the conference is sponsored by Comcast. So Xfinity was offering free Wi-Fi, and it's terrible. It like barely works, which is like hilarious, but. But also, because a lot of the boxes weren't working, you actually had to call the cable guy to come into the media tents. And so the cable guy, the Comcast guy, was in the Real News tent after we waited a little bit for like a good, I think probably like 45 minutes. It just felt like it's like, oh, wow, you're actually waiting for the cable guy. This is what happens when you let Comcast sponsor your events, is none of their shit works, and you have to wait for the cable guy who doesn't even really do a good job and takes forever to get here. So that was crazy. I mean, I was going nuts because we were trying to actually do this video earlier in the day, and we couldn't because there was no Wi-Fi access. So that was interesting.
All right, well, let's close with anything you anticipate tomorrow or if there's something in particular that you're really wanting to focus on as you've seen what's been going on in the first day. I mean, certainly to an observer just watching the broadcast from C-SPAN, it looks like the biggest story is how people just are chanting during speeches. Like, for the most part, they're not going to let people give their speeches uninterrupted.
No, and you know that I think but there's what I'm kind of focused on. So I think it's really interesting and it needs some attention. Is there is this split among Sanders delegates, and some of them have really joined this mentality, and kind of Sanders kind of has too. I mean, he's telling people not to protest. And so other people, you know, there's like Sanders delegates who've joined this as well, where it's like they just want to not only suppress that talk of third parties, they just also want to suppress any sort of like visible split, you know, like they don't want it to look like people aren't unified. And so in effect, they're kind of doing the Clinton people's work for them because they're policing their own people. And that's not all over the place, but it does exist, and there is a pretty prominent split. I mean, there's Sanders supporters who believe a walkout is wrong and stupid, and they really like are mad at, like, they're pre like meditated anger at anybody who is going to participate in that. And then there's other Sanders supporters I've talked to who are like, hell yeah, we're going to walk out. This is bullshit. Like, and, you know, we're not going to put up with it. And I mean, I'm talking people of all ages. It was funny. One of the people who was going to participate in the walkout, she is an older woman, and she told me that she wouldn't in a million years like hold a Clinton sign. She said she would have to have rigor mortis for a Clinton sign to be placed in her hands. She'd have to die and have rigor mortis is what she said. So yeah, there's like, and I mean, those are the people who aren't going to vote for Clinton. They're going to vote for a third party. The Democratic Party has lost them. And yeah, it's just interesting to see how they're responding to what Sanders is saying. They're not following what he's telling them to. I know there's a stronger or a larger probably trunk of Sanders supporters who will vote for Clinton, but it's beyond even that. It's like, it's just a strategy moving ahead is like they've joined with the Clinton campaign. That's the Sanders campaign has been meeting with the Clinton campaign. They've been holding joint events, and that's pissing people off.
I mean, it's not lost. I'll just add quickly that it's not lost that watching, they're really narrowing the confines of what's acceptable protest. I mean, Sarah Silverman was out there on stage before you got in the arena and called people who were Bernie or bust pretty much utterly ridiculous, and was
I missed that.
Trying to embarrass them. And then also, I know that earlier in the day, someone, a speaker, made a point of suggesting that if you didn't vote, then you weren't doing anything. You were basically choosing to like sit at home and not be a part of democracy, and like really going after people for disengaging. So they are very much narrowing, and you can see that on TV.
You know, one last thing I will mention is this. This is a disagreement, and I don't know why people just don't have it in the open, but they don't want to have it in the open because they're afraid that the people who don't want to vote for Clinton will convince other people not to. But the chair of the Washington Sanders campaign, of the Washington Delegates, he's an Iraqi man who spent 5 years in political prison under Saddam Hussein. And now he's an American citizen. He actually worked on the Obama campaign in 2008 and in 2012. In fact, in 2012, he was on the floor protesting and shouting when Anthony Villagrosa, I think it was, said the thing about, added the thing about, Jerusalem is the undivided capital of Israel. So this is somebody who's a Democrat and who, comes from the Middle East, and he said about Trump that he said Hillary Clinton he's like, there's no way I'm voting for her. She's just as dangerous. She supports the people who did what they did in the Middle East. Like, she's going to do worse. And, look how she treats Palestine. And so, it was interesting to hear him talk because he was also like, look, he wants to participate in protest. And he was like, I'm a fiery person. I have fire in my blood. This is how I behave. This is how I react. And, like, you can't get me in line. And so that was another attitude I saw, too, is like, there really is. It's people don't understand why there's so much anger and outrage at Clinton. It's not her personality. It's that people are really scared of her policies, and that you could see like he was scared of her policies moving forward. And so that's part of the reason that he's really uncomfortable with Clinton and won't vote for her, even though he's like a staunch Democrat. So
All right. Well, thank you. We'll let you go. You can recharge your batteries, and then we'll see you tomorrow
Yes.
for day 2.
Hopefully
Thank
it'll
you.
be a little smoother. Bye, Kevin.